Next up is Mariana Ragazzi making her debut in one of our events. So we're very excited to hear from you, Mariana.
Thank you, Alan. Let me just share my screen. I
So,
am really excited to be here and to see these many people interested in moving forward on this journey. So it's my pleasure to share a bit of my experience with you all today. But before we dive deeper, let me briefly explain my role so you can see where XLA comes into play. I've been an IT strategy and management consultant for 16 years at Kindle. And in this role, I'm involved early on the engagement phase, supporting sales teams and architects in crafting outsourcing proposals. And this gives me insights into market demands and how we can set ourselves apart, and it was here that we saw the need to bring XLA into the picture. I will get into that shortly. And after the service has been contracted, I am also involved in implementing the services. So I'm not just recommending or pitching ideas, as I bet you thought when I said I'm a consultant, but I'm actually on the ground making them happen. And through these, I understand the real world challenge and benefits of bringing XLA to life. And I will be sharing some insights on that with you today as well. Also, I do internal consulting, evaluating the performance of our own support teams and making recommendations to drive continuous improvement. So it's not only about recommending and implementing, I also oversee the services we deliver. So I get a clear view of what works and what remains just a concept. And finally, I provide external consulting, helping clients on their digital transformation journeys, whether that's modernizing legacy systems or a journey to cloud. And XLAs often come into play. For example, with the shift to cloud, the traditional SLAs are already included within the hyperscale services. And as technology is consumed as a service, our focus needs to be on the service experience. So my idea today is to give you a real perspective on the XLA journey from the service provider perspective based on the work we are doing at Kindle. And by the way, for those who may not be familiar with Kindle, we are a technology company created 3 years ago from the spin-off of IBM Infrastructure Services. And it was right after the spin-off that we started adapting our operating model to be more customer-centric. That's when we developed the CX delivery model, which focused on understanding and meeting customer needs. It encourages team collaboration, leverages automation, and provides visibility into performance. This model is designed to continuously evolve, driven by customer feedback and data analysis. And the move to a customer-centric approach was a strategic response to changing market needs. Because first, the clients of our clients are more demanding than ever. If we look from an individual perspective, people expect service experience similar to what they get with their smartphones, 24/7 access to everything and consistency every single time. And from a corporate perspective, technology now makes or breaks people's ability to do their jobs. I think IT cannot just function, it has to empower, So we need to improve the impact of IT services on both people and business and the business they support. So in this context, we realized that we needed a better way to measure success, not just operational performance, but whether we were truly meeting our customers' needs and delivering real value. Because the SLAs focus on performance against contractual terms and cannot provide those kind of insights. So a new kind of measurement was needed. That's when we made a decision to make experience management as a core part of the service we deliver. putting the customer's experience and the impact on their business at the heart of IT. And by incorporating XLAs into our contracts, we ensure that our services don't just meet operational targets, they also create meaningful, measurable experience that drive real value for our customers. And so we decided to leverage XLAs alongside service levels and individual operational metrics. And it's really important to emphasize this point. XLAs are not meant to replace SLAs, right? Actually, they complement each other. We need both. And I know there's a lot of content out there explaining the difference between SLAs and XLAs, but today I want to share with you what truly led us to adopt XLAs as an addition to our existing SLAs, and why we believe this combination creates a stronger and more relevant approach. One of the first things we realized is that SLAs are great for measuring specific aspects of service performance, but they often focus on isolated points, performance within silos. They tell us if each component is working as intended, but they don't show us the big picture. And that's where XLAs come in. They allow us to zoom out and evaluate the entire journey from end to end and understand how all these pieces come together to shape the overall customer experience. I like that airport analogy. When you take a trip, you go through several steps: parking the car, check-in, passing security, onboarding, and at each stage you may have a different perception. For instance, everything went well when parking the car, but there was a long queue to check in your luggage, and each step may be supported by a different supplier. For example, parking the car is the responsibility of the airport, but check-in is the responsibility of the airline company. So to measure each responsibility, each one of these interactions, we have the SLAs. But what truly shapes our overall experience is not just one step, it's the sum of them all. And that's exactly what XLAs measure, the entire journey. In our T-Service, the same principle applies. We can have all the individual SLAs met, servers up and running 99% of time, but if the 1% fails during a critical activity, the users still feel frustrated. And the XLAs give us the insight to understand these nuances and address them. And the second and third reason we embraced XLAs with SLAs is that they help us strike the right balance between cost, performance, and business value. The SLAs are essential because they define what both the IT service provider and the client can expect when contracting a service. They set clear parameters around performance that are important to help manage costs. After all, achieving a specific level of service comes at a price, and that's where SLAs are still relevant. But think about the CEO making outsourcing decisions. They are unlikely to prioritize user satisfaction if it comes at the expense of significant profit loss. And this is where XLAs add incredible value. They help us understand whether the service we are delivering, even if they meet all SLA's requirements, are actually aligned with the client's business needs. So, in short, SLAs set the baseline for operational performance and cost, while XLAs ensure that the service is delivering the expected value. So together, they help us create a more balanced and effective service delivery model. And lastly, we moved beyond traditional penalty-focused contracts and we embraced an incentive-based model that rewards success rather than punishing failure. In many traditional sourcing agreements, the focus is on avoiding penalties. If a provider fails to meet SLA targets, they face financial consequences. With XLAs, we introduced a new dynamic, the bonus payment for exceeding experience expectation. So now, when we go beyond the agreed levels of experience, Kindle can earn bonus which can then be reinvested into the account or even use it to reward the delivery teams directly. So this approach fosters a culture of continuous improvement where teams are motivated to go the extra mile, not because they are afraid of penalties, but because they are striving for positive outcomes that benefit everyone. And this incentive model is crucial in sourcing relationships where two layers of experience needs to be addressed. The customer-facing employees of the service provider, meaning our teams who are on the front line delivering the service, and the employees of the client organization, meaning the stakeholders we have touch points with, who rely on these services to do their jobs. So we need to consider this formula: provider employee experience plus client employee experience is equal customer experience. Because when our teams are engaged, motivated, and well supported, they naturally deliver better service. This leads to higher customer satisfaction, improved business outcomes, and long-lasting partnership. So, in short, XLAs transformed how we deliver services, helping us go beyond contracts and technical metrics to focus on what truly matters, creating value and exceptional experiences. And well, convinced that this was the right path, we began our journey. We organizing training sessions and developed support materials for our sales teams and anyone directly interacting with clients, because we wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page and fully equipped to talk about experience level agreements. Where there was interest, we took things a step further and conducted assessments to understand the client current experience landscape, their emotions, pain points, and where XLAs could bring the most value. And from there, we held design thinking sessions to define strategies and co-create the XLAs, working side by side with clients to map out their goals and desired experience. We also set the tools and prepared the governance teams to manage these new experience-driven metrics, ensuring they were ready to track and act on the insights XLA would provide. But I'm not going to dive into these activities because you get the chance to explore this entire framework in the next session, I believe. But what I really want to share with you today are some of the key lessons we learned along the way, the ones that made all the difference in how we approached this journey. So first and foremost, and guys, if there's only one piece of advice you take from me today, let it be this: focus on the first phase of educating your ecosystem. This is absolutely critical, and it can make or break your entire initiative. Why? Because we are talking about something new, something unfamiliar, and that always brings a certain level of anxiety. And if we don't handle this stage properly, two things are likely to happen. First, you won't be able to influence people. To be honest, most of the resistance we encounter in project is not about the change itself, but about people not understanding the value behind it. If stakeholders don't get why this matters, they won't engage. Or even worse, they might think they understand and move forward, but based on a completely wrong interpretation. And this is where we risk following to something called XLA washing, which is the superficial modification of service agreements to create an improved experience with no real value. So simply adding some experience-related metrics to an existing SLA does not form an XLA. It just become a fancy SLA, right? So this is why leveling the playing field is so important. And it's not a one-time task, it's something you will need to revisit at every stage of your journey. You might start by enlightening the CEO and getting their buy-in, but when it's time to co-create the XLA with business stakeholders, for example, you have to go through the process again, because Their motivations and perspectives are different. The same goes for when you bring in the governance teams managing SLAs or the teams configuring tools. And every group will need clarity on what XLAs truly mean and why they matter. The second big lesson is consider the maturity of the relationship between the client and the provider before diving into an XLA contract, because XLAs demand a much deeper level of collaboration, trust, and strategic alignment than traditional SLAs. So without maturity, there is a real risk that the XLA contract will once again remain just an SLA in new packaging without delivering the intended transformation in user experience. And it's not just the relationship maturity that matters. The client's internal maturity is just as important. Look at the company's culture. Do they have a user-centric mindset? Are they genuinely committed to continuous improvement? Because if they are not, implement XLAs becomes a tough challenge. This is not just theory. There is a study by IBM Academy from 2020, I guess, that highlights that poor delivery performance is more often driven by cultural and mindset issues than problems with process or skills. So consider that. Another key point, and it might seem obvious, but trust me, it's crucial. The client has to actually want XLAs. They need to be fully on board because creating XLAs is a joint effort. The client has to invest time and energy joining the design thinking sessions, helping to map customer journeys and mapping the stakeholders, identifying touch points, building impact maps, defining desired experience, deciding the feedback mechanisms, the measurement methodology, and the list goes on. So they need to be engaged. XLAs must be, be built from the outside in, from the business to IT. If the client doesn't engage and recreate XLAs based on our perception as IT suppliers, we will have the same old wine in a new bottle, right? And finally, the XLA is not one size fits all. The right strategy depends on your company's needs. There is no universal blueprint. You might start by applying an XLA to a specific business service, or perhaps a system that supports multiple services, or maybe it makes sense to begin with a provider managing something like network services that underpin several systems. And from there, you can expand, rolling out XLAs. So the key is to prioritize a strategy that aligns with your specific reality and business goals. And that's what this journey taught us. Success with XLAs is not just about frameworks and methodologies, it's about people and business and a shared commitment to creating meaningful and measurable experience. And well, to finish, I would like to share some real world examples of how we've implemented XLAs across different industries and scenarios. Hopefully, we will have time left for questions. Otherwise, Alan is going to kill me. But I promise that if there are questions and we run out of time, I will answer them offline. Okay, Alan? Well, our first case is from a UK-based media and entertainment company. Following their acquisition by a private equity firm, they faced a challenge of building an independent IT infrastructure and modernizing their operations across the markets. So, a major step in this process was migrating all employees to updated digital workplace systems and collaboration tools. That's where we brought in XLAs, not only to measure but also improve the service experience for employees worldwide. And the impact was significant. The CIO highlighted that the quality of the service we provided had significantly improved, with over 80% of employees expressing genuine satisfaction when reaching out to IT. And it's a great example of how focusing on end user experience can boost satisfaction and strengthen a company's digital backbone, you know. The second case came from the banking industry in France. The main goal was to help IT better understand what truly impacts business outcomes and commit to the business experience through the XLA. Because by doing this, IT could respond faster and more effectively without disrupting business operation. So we started with a pilot in the bank card payment services that received an internal innovation award. It highlighted how XLAs can drive real business value when focused on what matters most. No? And the third case is from the retail industry in Switzerland. After a recent merger, the client began modernizing IT to improve the customer experience through better digital engagement. So, as part of the contract renegotiation, we implemented XLAs that targeted critical gaps, ensuring that reported service performance matched the actual customer experience. This not only enhanced transparency, but also provided the company ability to modernize and align with evolving business objectives. We also, in this case, we also introduced a new partnership XLA, which focused on cultural alignment between the companies. This approach is trained both the customer experience and the partnership driving meaningful business outcomes. And lastly, we have a case from the financial industry in the UK. When we first engaged with the client, one of their major pain points was that they had several historical SLAs with us that no longer reflected the real needs of their business. So our approach was to shift the focus away from measuring everything and instead concentrate on measuring what really matters through XLA. We worked closely with them to identify and understand which business outcomes were most critical and when. And then we introduced XLAs, moving away from dozens of outdated metrics towards a model that truly supports business priorities. So these examples show how XLA can be adapted across different industries and contexts, moving beyond just IT performance metrics to truly focusing on the experience and outcomes that drive business success. And that's it from me today, everyone. I really hope you found the content useful and that you have success on your journey. Feel free to reach out if you want to connect or exchange ideas. And back to you, Alan.
Wow, Mariana, and on time. Well done. Oh my gosh. So good. No, so amazingly good. And you actually, there is a question which I thought you'd answer, but I think I'm going back to it. So Blanca Gallegos is asking, hey, do you have any practical examples of XLA you've implemented before? And I think the clue is in the next part. I see a common confusion in organizations about XLA is only NPS target or productivity time. How do you view this? Thanks in advance, Blanca.
Yeah, you know what? As I said, we can. That's why these name XLA washing came from the market because the point is companies and people start reading and learning about XLA, focus on the people and the and satisfaction survey, and because of they get it wrong, they start applying it focused only on the satisfaction survey. So from my perspective, we need to understand that we need to apply this in the business impact and understand the whole impact And to understand this business impact, we need to merge the satisfaction survey with the operational metrics as well. So we will get the big picture and understand these silos and how we can get the big picture and how this big picture is impacting the business. I think that's the key.
Cool. I have another question from Chris Gunlaw. I appreciate that XLA measure will be dependent on the business needs, but is there a library of typical XLA measures that we can use to inspire our thinking? I can also ask this to the next presenter, but I'm going to ask you as well, because if you've done a number of these things, do you start to build some type of common library that you can adapt more easily than starting from scratch?
Yeah, you know what? That's a great question. We started creating our catalog, but we realized it because, as I said, we needed to empower our teams because we have more than 4,000 clients. We Mariana is not able to implement XLA in all clients, so we need to empower teams. And to empower them, we started creating guidance material and our catalog with all the cases and um, how to adapt or adopt and adapt XLA. But we realized that it people was using this catalog to as an SLA, just okay, we already have this as an example, so we can adapt. So Mr. Client, this is what we have for XLA, but this is not XLA. We need to understand, we need to adapt. So that's why we still have this catalog. We believe in this catalog, but we need to use carefully.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much. We'll see you back in a second because you're going to be in the round table, correct?
Yeah, I'll see you
So
there. Bye
that's
bye.
yeah. No, I'll, I'll see you in a second then.